Better late than never. No notes, no screens. This is just strictly talking birds and what the birds are looking like right now and what bets are to make on the draft. I got the boys in the back. We are ready to rock and roll. This is Money Pot Betting. Let's go. Welcome, everybody, back to another episode of Money Pot Betting. We are talking birds, strictly an episode just for the Eagles pre-draft. We've had free agency. We want to talk about all the moves that they've done, what moves are next. It's Howie season in full effect. And I got my Eagles gurus with me. Of course, as always, rocking with me, my own professional bettor. You should have one, but we got one. CSharp, what's up, bro?
Man, we're a month away from the draft. Happy Holy Week. I am a LaSalle grad, so yeah, this is a good week for me religiously. But yeah, football-wise, man, everything's ramping up. Owners' meetings. I love this time of year.
Yes, sir. And of course, just gave him the seal of a stamp of approval. Ernie B, part of the team, rocking with us Monday nights. What's up, bro?
Just happy to be here, man. We're just happy to be here. It's all love, man.
Yeah, you need a J or something with that. I'm just happy to be here. Like that Jim Brewer feel, right?
Look, man, I got to get my background set up. That's my problem. I need to get my background set up. You know what I mean?
Oh, don't worry. We get you there.
I will be there, man. Just give me some time.
Yeah. And of course, you guys know me, Moss Money, ready to rock and roll and talk birds. So, without further ado, let's get into it right now. Looking at the Eagles, knowing where the Eagles are right now. CSharp, I'm going right to you. Give me a grade right now of because you see the camera bouncing. I'm hitting the table. Give me a grade right now. Free agency. How did the Eagles do?
I mean, I don't want to, I don't want to come across as a homer or someone. I haven't seen exactly how some of the pieces fit. But if I'm just strictly judging how Howie Roseman did in a vacuum, I mean, this is one of the better off seasons in the NFL, hands down. It's hard to say A+ until you see some of the pieces actually fit. But in terms of culture, talent, and personality, I mean, you're talking about at least an A- at the very minimum. And you go into the draft now with almost no need in terms of like, you can't line up week one if you don't address this position. In my opinion, the Eagles don't have one of those positions. So really, you can just operate best player available. You can move up, you can move down. This gives ultimate flexibility in the draft, which good teams need flexibility in the draft. You get in trouble when you need a certain thing. We've seen that with the Eagles. When the Eagles get locked into, I need a receiver with speed, and they close their eyes to everything else, it misses. When they say, I need a left tackle with good feet, and they close their eyes to everything else, they miss. When the jury's out, but they told themselves they absolutely needed a 2-down run stopping 350-pound 2-down defensive tackle, the jury's kind of still out. Maybe they had their eyes a little closed there and didn't really look at BPA and just went for an ultimate need. So I love the offseason. I mean, Barkley's just the cherry on top. That kind of tells me that they're doing things out of character, and that means that they're trying to grow as a front office. So that's great.
Yeah, I like everything you said. Outside the Jordan Davis thing, I think people are like kind of like saying I hear the bust word coming around him. I don't think he's a bust, at least for me, because I didn't expect him to be a 3-down lineman. I didn't expect him to be anything else than what he is. He's an immovable object. He has no pass rush moves, and he's a great run defender. And he's learning how to play the game now. That step he takes now with Fletcher not behind him, some of the vets, and then that Patton getting past to him, we'll still see. I think people are like really wanting him to be like this ultimate pass rusher, replace Fletch, but he's not a player. He's not even close to what Fletch was coming out. What did Fletch come out of? Southern
Mississippi State.
Mississippi State, right. So, yeah, he's not that same guy. So to me, he's not a bust because he's good at what he does, and he was always that. Ernie B, I'll go to you. Sharp gave him an A+. You second that or B+, C? How you feeling how we did so far in the free agency market?
I mean, I think he did a really, really good job. I think A+ for setting themselves up for the draft. I would say if we have to take in some of these players, injury concerns, Barkley, White, sure. I mean, the money they got them at, the guaranteed money that they have allocated is awesome. One thing that I wanted to bring up to start off the show is, according to Sport Track, which updates every Monday morning, I believe it's at 9 a.m. As of right now, I'm not sure which contracts are not processed specifically, but we have 77 players signed and are still fourth in the league in available cap space to work with for this year.
Yeah,
that's 33.53 million. Another fun fact I thought is that we are the 8th youngest team in the NFL by average at 26.45, with still, makes it even better. We have 77 guys under contract right now. That is tied for most with the Arizona Cardinals. I don't understand how you could explain. The numbers speak here that this is a 100% perfect retool, however you want to call it. This is how you do it. This is the blueprint. This is how you do it. This is how you get younger quickly. I mean, this team, what they have done this offseason, I mean, I thought we had heard that Howie was going to be aggressive. We had heard that they were disappointed, not only in how the season ended, but in how they may have handled last offseason. This is just, it's an absolute home run. I don't want to use the word grand slam just because there's no guarantees, but this is not dream team nonsense, folks. This is real good upper management NFL at works. And I mean, the numbers just speak for themselves. They are going all in and yet still setting themselves up for the future.
Yeah, and I want to really quick say the only reason I can't go A+ and where I settled on A- is mainly it comes down to one thing. I love the Kenny Pickett edition because you get the 2 years. He's that Gardner Minshew, right? You get contract control of a above average backup quarterback. We can go over where everyone ranks. Like I have Kenny Pickett in that 35th, 36th QB in the NFL before this incoming rookie class. So I think we majorly upgraded at backup. To me, Marcus Mariota wasn't a top 40 quarterback in the National Football League and probably closer to 50th. That's just how I feel. I think the tape verifies that. So I do think we upgraded. Where I will say is, and they have no control over who gets drafted. And some people have said that, the Bears did right by Fields because he literally went to them and said, please don't send me to Philadelphia. I don't know if that's true. If it's true, then there's nothing Howie could do. I will say, if you're looking for a Nick Foles story, like if we were to go to the playoffs and then Hurts were to go down, Kenny Pickett cannot win the Super Bowl. Like he's just not that good. So where I do think Fields is in that Nick Foles range, where he's like the 30th best quarterback in the league, where if he were to catch fire for a month, I'm not saying he could carry the team for a season, but if he could just come in for 4 games and catch fire, like you could win a Super Bowl with him as your backup. I don't think that's the case with Kenny Pickett. So I can't say the backup QB position is totally solved where we want it to be because Hurts does get hurt. He gets hit. He gets hurt. So I'm hoping the Barkley edition just pretty much ends Hurts from running.
Yeah, no, I do as well. So I'm looking at the additions right now. I'll bring it up real quick just to see, what you boys think in terms of what we have here so far. So obviously, Saquon A. I don't know much about Burks or Braun in terms of a linebacker standpoint, but I think that 1-year deals, stopgap type guys, plug and play maybe type guys. I thought one of these guys
Oren Burks was a premier special teamer for the 49ers.
Correct.
Oren Burks is actually an underrated signing as far as we're talking premier special teamer. Bond,
and so is Zach Bond.
Yes, and the name that people will recognize more than Zach Bond is Andrew Van Ginkel, but that's what Zach Bond is here to play. He's an inside-outside guy, off ball, can still play pass rusher. I don't know how many people are familiar with Van Ginkel's game, but that is what he is brought here to be, and I know that for a fact.
And then let me just zoom in just a little bit here, get a little closer. Like that way, that looks better. So Paris Campbell, obviously Quez, I think signed with the Steelers today, if I'm not mistaken. So Campbell, I like the fit more than Parker for me. Obviously just from a speed component, that guy who can just kind of open up the offense just a little bit more. Parker more is a big body type deal. Now, can he play that wide receiver 3? I'm not sure if he's going to play the slot. We all know and hate the goddamn. Let me tell you, you know what? I really hated the rule change with the hip, the kind of hip tackling thing, because it just puts us, and I say us as defensive players because I played the game, at such a disadvantage. But looking at what they showed from the owners' meeting and what they showed in terms of how people are pulling from the hips and like kind of like almost like it's weird, like how you let somebody's going past you and they get kind of past you, but you get on their hip, but the way you kind of shift your weight kind of down, it almost
it's
like
weird.
It's a weird way to tackle. It's not how you're supposed to tackle, but it's almost like the only way you can
perfectly. I think Sharp said it perfectly in the group chat. It's one of those things that they're gonna. How did you say it, Sharp? They're gonna harp on it early, and then what?
They're gonna throw a bunch of flags week 1 and week 2. Everyone's gonna bitch about it. The media is gonna go up in arms. It's gonna disappear by week 3, and then it'll come out in the most crucial time in the playoffs for one of the key quarterbacks. Sure. And it'll be on like a 3rd or 4th down, and the defense is going to get screwed, and it's going to be everything everybody talks about.
Kelsey gets dropped. That's what it's going to be.
It'll be somebody. It'll just be, it'll be somebody. It'll be a key player at a key time, and the defense will get screwed. I mean, it's just like, that's how it's going to be. It's how the incomplete catch will. I mean, it's just the NFL likes drama. I keep saying this. They don't change their refs because they like people talking about drama after the game.
And they like scoring points.
They like that.
They love points. Oh yeah, they
love points. They want these points to fire up. So
especially if they're getting the Taylor Swift genre in there and some of your more secondary non-diehard fans, like those people eat up the stories as much as they care about the nickel blitz. Like they care about all the auxiliary stuff.
And then out of that free agent class again, CJ Garner coming back home. It seems like he wanted to come back. And I think Matt Hennessy is love that last name, right? Matt Hennessy is a underrated signing. I think one of the more underrated signing as a backup offensive lineman, staying true to who we are, to a guy who can play multiple positions. We've always had guys like that, and then when they do come in, there's not that big of a drop off in terms of that, unless it's Lane or somebody like that. Or even Dickerson in terms of like that, because Dickerson is probably 1, 2, maybe, I don't know if I can even go 3, maybe 1, 2 in terms of best guards in the league at this
Dickerson's
point.
top 3 left guard in the league. Fact.
Yeah.
As far as
I guess I give it 3.
You can get into debate, but left guard, yeah, he's top 3.
Yeah. So, and then you got Huff, obviously another big signing for us as well. And then looking at some of the other parts, obviously Sharp talked about Kenny Pickett. We have Devontae Parker coming in. Don't know too much about Tyler Hall or PJ.
Hall's interesting. Just so you know, Tyler Hall's interesting.
Yeah, tell us about Tyler Hall, Ernie.
Tyler Hall, man. Out of Wyoming, I believe. I want to say he overlapped with Marcus Epps. And he worked out with Epps over multiple off seasons. He has been familiar with a couple Eagles players that worked out with Epps.
Do you think Epps is good?
What's that?
Do you think Mike Epps is good?
Marcus Epps.
I'm sorry, Marcus Epps. Right.
Do I think he's good?
Yeah, safety for the Raiders, right?
Yeah. Marcus Epps was very good for us. That was a awesome waiver. I believe we signed him off of I think we claimed him off of waivers from the Vikings years ago. But yeah, he was very good for the Eagles. He was a good story of development. Hall has experience at inside corner, nickelback, outside corner, and safety. from what I heard per Andrew DeCecco of Inside the Birds was Hall did have other opportunities, but felt that his best opportunity to compete was in Philadelphia. So I don't know about you, Sharp, but I've heard some good stuff about Hall at the level of player that he is.
Yeah, I mean, he's just a backup, right? He's just a veteran backup that you can rely on. So think a few years back when the Eagles had a young Avonte Maddox and then a young Cravon LeBlanc. That's who this kid is. He's a LeBlanc clone, 5'9", small, but he's going to lower his helmet. You're just talking about a dude that's like 185 pounds, dripping wet. So I mean,
he's an NFL.
He's going to give it his all. He's going to give it his all in the run game, but he's not a good run stopper. He's okay on specials. I mean, you're just talking about a guy who he will be battling for a 53rd spot. He's no lock to make the team.
I believe in the name that he will be battling with is Zach McPherson. This is Zach McPherson's competition as far as backup slot, assuming that they fill that position before camp.
What do you guys see? And we'll get to more cornerback talk and draft talk. And for those who are watching, thank you for watching. Make sure you hit that like, hit that subscribe button. And thank you for joining the live feed. Where do you guys see Isaiah Rodgers?
Outside corner. I don't know how many times I have to tell people this. He is an outside corner that has the body of a nickel. But Kenny Moore played in Indianapolis at the time, but he can play both.
I think it's TBD. I wouldn't say that at all. I think that's too bold of a claim to say. Because I'll tell you right now, Quinyon Mitchell or Tyrion Arnold is going to beat out Isaiah Rodgers with their eyes closed. 100%. So they would tell that dude so then there you go, Ernie B. So then he's a nickel. So I think the more appropriate way to say it is he's got versatility and it's TBD.
I guess. I mean, he plays both. I mean,
you definitely not going to pencil him in as outside corner.
Don't take that shit from Sark.
Well, I'm just saying, it's just really risky. It's really risky to pencil that dude in as starting corner number 2.
I didn't say that. I just said he's an outside corner. I mean, as of right now,
I think he's an inside. I think he's an inside. I think he's a slot corner with outside corner versatility.
Yeah, I would say that. But I mean, Rodgers.
I don't think he's an outside corner with inside versatility.
I mean, I would say his body says he's an inside corner, but I mean, as of right now, he's played more snaps on the outside than he has the inside. That's just
correct. Why would you? And why is that?
Because Kenny Moore played the slot, who's a better football player.
And who's better? And who's the better football player?
Out of Kenny Moore and Isaiah Rodgers?
Right.
I mean, Kenny Moore's 30 and Isaiah Rodgers is like 26.
So it's not a tough question. Who's the better football player? Kenny Moore is the better, way better. So you weren't going to unseat Kenny Moore. So so Isaiah Rodgers had to play outside because that was his only way on the field. So I think that would be the similar situation here. But I fully expect the Eagles to address outside corner number 2 in the draft, and that'll slot Rodgers into slot. Isaiah Rodgers will be your starting nickel corner.
No return for Avonte Maddox. I want to just put that there's a lot of people wondering about that. His market is
no, none.
Now, did he get signed?
No, he's had one visit with the Saints. That's it. That's all he's done.
Okay. And then obviously Devin White at the end there. Devin White's still a 3-down linebacker at this point, or no? Not anymore.
Devin White's a good flyer for the contract. I mean,
he's still young, right? But I mean, I thought like during his stay in Tampa that he wasn't a 3-down linebacker anymore. He kind of came off the field.
He just got benched last year. So, I mean, the tape would say that he fell off. I mean, I don't know. It's a flyer deal. They're addressing inside linebacker with a better pedigree than they did last year, but it's almost the same formula.
Okay.
So this is a great scheme for Devin White, right? Devin White has terrible eyes and terrible instincts, and that's his problem, right? Inside linebackers, you rely on instincts and eyes. That's the 2 most important traits an inside linebacker can have: instincts and eyes.
We're talking about an all-pro, though, right? He went all-pro.
Who?
Did Devin go all-pro?
No.
Not last year, but
he did. He was a first-team all-pro the year they went.
Yeah, not last year.
Yeah, no, not last year, but
he was first-team all-pro one time.
I feel it hard to say that this guy doesn't have any instincts and any
He doesn't. He doesn't.
Levante David was a pretty good.
Bro. He was a problem in his. I don't know if
he wore the green dot. He did wear the green dot, but Levante David helped him out a lot, man. He said it himself.
Levante David wore the green dot, you mean?
No, Devin White wore the green dot.
His all-pro year? I don't think so.
according to Devin White per his press conference with the Eagles, he has worn the green dot every year since he came out of college.
Okay. I'm like 99% sure Levante David was the green dot player.
I thought it was Levante David this entire time.
And I'm actually 100% sure of that. So we're gonna not take Devin White because he's just talking. So the reason Devin White was really good is because he had Levante David telling him where to be. So he didn't have to know where to be. Devontae David was like, bro, slide over. You know what I mean? He needs someone who's literally like telling him where to be. Devin White has incredible skills. Like in shorts and a t-shirt, your jaw would drop. But when you watch on tape, he doesn't drift to the right spot. But like when you watch like a Luke Kuechly or even a TJ Edwards, it's like they see the shift happening and they know which two gaps this play's coming. Devin White like has no idea. It's like, oh, the running back's about to hit the B gap. Well, shit, I better get to the B gap. And then he gets to the B gap. He has the physical abilities, but like if he could think on his feet and like anticipate, he would be like one of the best. Like he would be like Roquan Smith. He looks like Roquan Smith, kind of plays like, I don't know, just an average linebacker, I guess.
With extreme physical traits, I think is what we're trying to say. Is like he's pretty athletic. Like his athletic traits are
benched in Tampa.
Because he can't be your green dot player. He cannot be your green dot player. He cannot be the guy getting people lined up. He's the guy that like your Mike linebacker would tell everyone else what to do and then whisper over to Devin, blitz, or whisper over to Devin, you got the running back, or whisper over to Devin, hey, move over to slot and get the tight end. He can't think about any of those things on his own. I mean that seriously. Like I know I'm roasting this dude, but I mean everyone I've ever talked to that's coached him.
I don't think that's roasting because one thing I want to say is they were not verbatim. Greg Cosell politely said the exact same thing that CSharp just said, who is one of the best tape watchers of all time. So I mean, Devin White. Now I want to ask you this: is Nakobe Dean, Devin White our starting linebacker tandem, Sharp?
I think that'll be TBD.
If you had to predict week one as we stand right now, they don't get Adrian Cooper, you know.
Well, like I think the perfect fit to make this whole team go is like you need Peyton Wilson. You need a guy that's so smart that can tell Devin White, hey, dumbass, this is what you need to be doing on the play. I'm going to be the green dot guy. You're just going to be running around doing exactly what I tell you to do.
Sorry, you are absolutely a dickhead.
I know, but hey, you know, so I'll tell you right now, Devin White needs to get. Let's just say something real quick. Devin White needs to get used to it because Vic Fangio speaks to football players like I speak to people. And that's just fact. He's tough to deal with. And Devin White is going to have to deal with being told, bro, your eyes are trash.
You can find some funny Dolphins players articles that have come out to some lower level guys that really never made it, but they're hilarious, dude. He belittled me as a man, bro. And it's like, it's funny, dude. Like, I'm talking about from a lot of people. Like, Vic's going to be a wake up call. Like, I have an odd feeling, though, that CJ Gardner-Johnson is going to absolutely adore it. Like, he's just going to find a way to like him. Like, it's just, they're going to be in.
They already like each other. What do you mean? So Vic told the Eagles to go get Chauncey.
How about CJ he gets it. Like I think when I heard him talk about coming back, he explained all the issue. Like he gets it here. Like we're obnoxious, he's obnoxious. It just works.
Right.
You know what I mean?
You're gonna ruin. So I see you moved off my Will Grier picture because I had a comment on that.
Yeah, I didn't really
Eagles
have.
will not be drafting a quarterback on day 3. They will not be drafting a quarterback on day 3. All right, there we go. We can put that aside.
Yeah, like you know, Will Grier with West Virginia, right?
Yeah. Then drafted in the 3rd by Carolina, and then if I want to say it was the Dallas Chargers, New England Chargers, or Dallas New England Chargers, something like that. I don't know.
He's got. Why are we talking about Will Grier?
Good question. I was going to say the same thing, but
camp body. 2 words. Camp body. He literally means nothing.
For sure.
It means that they will not draft a quarterback.
Like, don't get me wrong. I like Camp Bodies. Like, he's going to be an Eagle. Like, that's a cool experience as a human being. But this is like a sports betting show. Like, Will Grier means nothing.
He said, "That's a cool deal, bro. You made it to the league. You playing for the Eagles."
Right. Keep that story. Keep those practice jerseys, man. That's a cool story. But like, okay.
So we re-signed a lot of our own, obviously Dickerson, Grant coming back for his farewell tour, Jake Elliott, Rick Lovato, and special teams kind of guys all back. And he was hurt, right? Like he showed promise, but he kept getting hurt, right? Albert. Is he like he's a tall? Is he the tall one? He's like 6'7", 6'8".
He's like 6'5".
No, you're thinking of Tyree Jackson.
Okay, I'm thinking about Jackson. Okay, my bad.
Tyree Jackson couldn't stay healthy. He was like a 6'7" guy that we stashed for a few years.
Was he like he was an ex-quarterback too, right?
From Buffalo. I think the Bills somehow drafted him or something. We got a hold of him, and then I think the Giants sniped him, and then they just bailed on him last year.
Yeah,
I thought he was on the roster last year. We went on the roster.
I think it was the Giants.
Oh, was it Giants last year? Okay, all right.
No, Alberto kind of stunk for us. He didn't really amount to anything. He was bad in practice. Like he wasn't very good.
Okay. So
I think he'll make the roster though.
Yeah,
you think
we lost Jack Stoll now, so I mean that was
Jack Stoll was signed. Alberto. I do think this team will be looking for a blocking tight end, or I don't know. I keep saying a sneaky pick to look out for is a tight end way earlier than people expect. And this is a good, sneaky, good tight end class. People are acting like this isn't a good tight end class because everyone's wanting like Sam Laporta. Well, we don't even use Sam Laporta. We just need like a dude that can come in and block. So we can find that.
What's the kid's name from Michigan? The blocking kid.
Barner.
AJ Barner?
Andrew. Yeah, AJ Barner.
Yeah, AJ Barner. He's a late, I don't even know.
Yeah, I see the Chargers will probably find a way to get
a Jack Stoll kind of body would be nice.
Yeah.
So I think that's a great segue into the kind of next flow of the show in terms of we went and looked at free agency. Now we have an understanding of what we have here. Sharp, you've been talking about it in the chat. You've been talking about it on social media. What is Howie going to do in this upcoming NFL draft for 2024?
Well,
per Sharp, not saying that for sure, but in your opinion,
no, I understand what you mean.
Where are you at in terms of what he's going to do for the 2024 draft?
I just think it's very clear that this team is definitely taking a corner. There's a bunch of guys they can sit. I'm not saying they're going to sit or that they're definitely not going to pick at 22. I don't think it's guaranteed one way or the other. The way I'm looking at how a lot of these things are going to play out and the guys that are plugged in, like Daniel Jeremiah starting to do more mocks, dude, they're all starting to say certain teams are looking to move out, like the Jets. Like there's several teams that need to rebuild and don't have a second round pick. And in the NFL, second round pick is it's hard to describe how much currency that is. If you hit on a second round pick, it's so much better than hitting on a first round pick. Every NFL team, if you can get a first team all pro from day 2, that is the life lottery in the NFL draft because that player's under contract control. And it's just for so much cheaper than that first round pick is. So it's just think of Hurts. Think of what we had Hurts for when he was starting to play good his last year before we had to redo. Dude, the dude was making pennies. Look at what I know. Brock Purdy's an exception because he's day 3, but hitting on day 2 picks for a rebuilding team is so necessary. And a team like I've just gone over, like the Jets, the Bears, if that one player that they absolutely love in the top 10 is not there, because that's usually how the draft works. One player is on way higher on every team's board than someone else. I just can't see over and over and over the picks at 9, 10, 11, and 12 working out to where none of those teams want to move. Someone's going to be unhappy with what's there, and that's right where the Eagles can be like, well, guess what? We have 2 second round picks and 0 needs, but what we can do is go take one of these top 2 corners and tell James Bradbury that he needs to go figure out his second job or his second career. Because this is a Super Bowl window. Isaiah Rodgers hasn't played in a season. I don't think he's the kind of number 2 corner on the outside that can line up against guys like A.J. Brown, big body, dominant receivers.
He's a
Darius Slay can't do that anymore. This team needs a bona fide cornerback one. Like, it's time, guys. Like, it's time. They flirted with it a few years with J.C. Horn, Patrick Surtain. Like, it is time. Make the move. Go up to 10, go up to 11, 12. There's no way that all those teams are getting QB. Go make a move. Go get Quinyon Mitchell. Get Tyrion Arnold. Like, I swear, you get Tyrion Arnold or Quinyon Mitchell, you're probably winning the Super Bowl. Like, I mean that.
That's not far-fetched at all.
Like, I legit mean that. You land one of those two players, you are the favorite in the NFC. There's no doubt in my mind.
By far. I mean, it's
all right. Let's look at it, Ernie. First, I want to ask you this, Ernie, because I know you do your homework on these draft players just as much as Sharp. Who's the better corner, Arnold or Mitchell?
Mitchell.
Mitchell
is cornerback one. He is not Sauce Gardner, but Mitchell is cornerback one. He is going to be a good pro player comparison. I mean, he's similar to he's been compared to Slay a couple times. I think he's more physical than Darius. Slay. But I love Mitchell, man. Mitchell's really, really good. Tyrion Arnold is actually a guy that I've been talking to Sharp about for a while now. I mean, I love Tyrion Arnold, man. I mean, he's a scrappy, he has the personality. He is today's NFL corner. And I think he fits that mold of like, this dude plays defensive back in the NFL. Like, you could spot him out of a lineup. Now, one thing I wanted to say was about trading up. Howie Roseman, excluding Nolan Smith, which was the second of 2 first-round picks, hasn't stayed put since Jalen Reagor. And I believe the year before that, he stayed put for Andre Dillard, if I'm correct. They might have moved in the Dillard draft. I can't remember. But they traded up for Devontae Smith. They traded up for Jordan Davis. They traded up for Jalen Carter. And, Nolan Smith, they stayed put, but it is what it is. This guy moves, man. He's going to move. And 22 is such a good spot to be in. Having 2 second-round picks, I mean, there is not a team built for moving up better than the Eagles for a corner specifically. That market, like QBs, we're not in it. Like that, we're not going to get up early. I've heard a couple people try to bring up going up for an elite tackle. They're not doing that. Okay. It's corner is the position that they would move up for. Quinyon Mitchell would be the name, and the absolute highest that I would go would be Atlanta, would be the threat for him. I don't think that they would do that. I think they're going to take Dallas.
Yeah.
I think they're going to go edge rusher, but I would just say that's the highest. Other than that, I just think Sharp has said it. Howie filled a lot of we have no major needs, man, going on to draft day. We're 1 month away, and we are set up better. I listed off how many players we signed. We have 77 players under contract already. For comparison, just to do a fun fact, the least amount of players signed right now is the Los Angeles Chargers, Baltimore Ravens, and Buffalo Bills with 56 and 57. Now, there's some cap issues, some money to move around there, but still. What Howie did this offseason, positioning himself for this draft, and it's a very crucial draft. They cannot miss in this draft. Just having the freedom does not mean that you can just willy-nilly pick a position. This is, man, we got to go get an outside corner. Darius Slay's old. Yeah. We're not set up for it. This whole Ringo, they believe in Ringo talk. He was there. It is what it is.
He ain't it. He's not it. In my opinion, what I've seen, he ain't it.
He's a good backup corner to have, but it's they are in the position, man. I'm telling you. If they get Quinyon Mitchell or Tyrion Arnold, the league better be put on fucking notice because it's going to be bad. I mean, Dallas is watch out. I mean, Washington, watch out. New York, watch out because this is going to be like the early 2000s where we're just walking to the NFC East Championship.
Sharp, convince me why the Vikings are not going to take a corner.
Well, it's pretty simple. If JJ McCarthy's on the board, they're not taking a corner. So
you think so you think they take arguably QB 3/4 versus CB1? Because wouldn't JJ fall to them at 23?
No way. I don't think they can risk that.
You think
JJ is not sniffing 23.
No.
JJ McCarthy is not sniffing 23.
If JJ, I will say, I will put, just like I said it last year, I'll put all my reputation out there that Jack Campbell's going in the first round and it's going to be the Detroit Lions. I will say the same thing. If JJ McCarthy is on the board when Minnesota Vikings pick, he's going to be a Viking. There's no argument. Like, that's the pick.
Where we are with the betting odds, do you know what that is?
I haven't seen him on the exact team yet. Like the Minnesota taking a quarterback's bad odds, so I wouldn't even touch that.
Right.
Yeah, because the DraftKings only has teams by position right now, I believe. So
yes,
I took Eagles O lineman early on as good odds. So just in case, I'm drunk and unhappy on draft night, but I'm all in on the cornerback movement.
Hey, real quick, my phone's about to die. I'm about to switch to my computer.
Okay.
Sorry, boys.
Yeah, you're good. So, Ernie, looking at the draft board here. Now, we talked about Howie. We talk about trading. What do you think is the ideal spot that they need to be at to grab a corner? Like, where's the corner going? The Raiders? They got to jump in front of the Raiders?
Well, this is what, and I'm curious to see what Sharp thinks about this, but this is what helps the Eagles at corner is there's a lot of need at left tackle and right tackle play within the top 15. And even with teams.
Hold on. Stay right there. So, who exactly are we looking at? Let me and I'll help you out so you can see it. I'll bring up the order here, so we have something to reference. Because this is obviously part of the betting part, right? I want to get into in terms of where we're going to think some of these guys fall. But looking at this order right now,
I'd say the very absolute earliest, and I mean absolute, it would be wonky, would be the Falcons take Mitchell. I don't think it's going to happen, but okay.
It's not happening.
I'll open the window there. Sure. Go down.
So hold on. When you say Mitchell at Atlanta at 8, are you saying that you feel, and Sharp, you can chime in here, 1 through 7 are going to be all offensive players?
Yes. The Atlanta Falcons, yes.
So if anybody takes a defensive player, it would be Atlanta.
Correct.
And Vegas thinks so too.
What about Chicago at 9?
I think that's where we see our first. I think we're going to see both pass rushers go back to back in either order. It's either going to be Turner versus Turner.
Okay. So we got the first 3 are almost locked, right? Do we think the first 3 are all going to be quarterbacks?
Yes.
These are type of bets that you guys can make. Remember, everybody watching, these are type of bets you can kind of make in terms of there are bets out there where you can make a bet with 3 of the top 3 being quarterbacks, and so forth in terms of the order.
You can also bet first defensive player taken. I believe we've been dropping Dallas Turner for about 3 weeks now. So
right.
That should be a name. And when I say Quinyon Mitchell to the Falcons, I'm just talking about what's the absolute ceiling for the player,
Yeah, no, I get you. It's all good.
That's just where I'm at on that. It's just you take a team like New York, right?
Yeah.
Let's say you're sitting there and
you're talking about the Giants, right?
I'm talking about the Jets.
You're talking about the Jets. Okay.
There's absolutely zero need for cornerback.
Correct.
And technically they've solidified their tackle position by signing like 5 tackles and telling all of them they're going to play the offensive line.
I feel like Odunze is a very, very, very interesting
That's fine. But think about, just you see what me and Sharp have been saying? Dude, it just falls to the point where it's like it's kind of like Jalen Carter. Eventually it's like, what's stopping us from bumping ourselves up? 10-9 is a lot of weight, but 22-12, 22-10, 22-13, that's not a lot of weight, man. I mean, you can look at plenty of trade analyzers and all that stuff on the internet. I mean, it's really not a lot. And we have 2 second-round picks. And I will stand on this. Hassan Reddick will not be playing for the Philadelphia Eagles next year. I just don't think it's going to happen. I think allocation of cash, actions speak louder than words. Okay. So if Reddick is not on this team, you got to assume we're getting draft pick compensation for him. I don't think it's going to be a 2, but what if you get that 3 back? If you get that 3 back, then all of a sudden you can deal one of these 2s, move up in the first round, and yet you're drafting as if you just didn't make any moves.
Right.
It's chess with this shit, man. It really is, and we just happen to have one of the best to do it in the league right now.
So we do. When you look about his draft class last year, it really was just Carter, right? It looked like we hit a home run, but it really is just Carter in that draft. In that draft class, if you look at that draft class,
Steen will have a chance to start this year. I thought
we'll
Sidney
see
Brown
what Steen is
showed
made
flashes.
of. Yeah, we'll see what Steen's made of, and you never know. Like you said, you put a bet already on the Eagles taking an old lineman, so you got to think.
I always place a draft security bet. So for me, I got one that I am a fan at the end of the day. When it comes to the season and when it comes to the business side of this things, the betting side of things, I try to rip away fan. I always myself, because I can, like to throw out a little fan bet, right?
Right.
Eagles to win the Super Bowl, duh. You know what I mean? Eagles to win the NFC East, duh. You know what I mean? Like, just talking about just the ones for fun, right?
I mean, yeah, but the roster speaks it. Like, it's not just all.
I mean, I'm not betting the Panthers to win the Super Bowl. You know what I mean?
Right,
I've got a little strength to sit on.
The roster's talking to you.
It is what it is. Yeah, but I mean, it's my safe pick because I have an eerie pit feeling, and it's not. This is fan PTSD. Of right now, this reminds me of all this movement. It reminds me of 2019, just with the haul that we got going in. Dillard, Miles Sanders, JJ Arcega-Whiteside. We had 1 first. It was like pick 22 or 23. We had 2 2s. You know, I don't think it's like that. I think they've changed. I think the philosophy of the franchise is in a positive direction. And I think that the Saquon Barkley acquisition showed that. I think that the ability to pay Bryce Huff and literally look at Hassan Reddick and Josh Sweat and go, okay, what do you want to do? Because at the end of the day, the club has leverage, man.
Let's not get it twisted. Reddick earns the payday.
Reddick has earned the payday, but
earned the payday.
What would you say to the player in? All right, I ask you: are you giving Reddick 3 for 75? This is what he wants. He wants 3 for 75. I think it's like $25 million a year with no. I don't know the guarantees.
If it's me and I'm Howie. Howie had the mask on. He rips off the mask on, and it's me smiling. I'm giving Reddick the money. Why am I giving Reddick the money? Because the numbers speak to the player and the production, and that's just me.
Yeah.
Outside of T.J. Watt, who's the premier pass rusher in the league, the next closest person to T.J. in terms of pressure rates, in terms of sack numbers, is Reddick. And not only that, he's done it in multiple schemes on multiple teams. So that means it's the player. It's not the scheme. It's not anything else. It's the player. The player can prove the fact that he's worth the money. Now, do I pay him more than TJ Watt? No. Do I pay him in the ballpark of TJ Watt? I don't know. But does he earn the right to say I make $25 million a year? I think he's there. Because what's TJ? Probably like 27, 28, somewhere in that range a year. He's got
TJ.
I don't know what his contract. I think he's up in that range. He's over 25.
He's well over 25 million. I mean, I think
he's over 25, and and it's not even like close. Like Reddick is like out of the top 10, I think, in terms of pass rushing. So there's a big difference because Huff got paid $20 million a year, which is what Reddick is. Reddick deserves to get paid for sure.
If you go back and you think about all the times that you had this decision to make as Howie Roseman, and you did give the player the extension, how many times it bit you in the ass? You know, like it's the bad part of the business. And the worst part is this is a kid from Camden. This is a guy from Camden that wants to play for this franchise, but it's not happening, man. It's just he's gonna get traded. I don't know the compensation. I mean, I'd love a third and like I don't know, in next year's 4 or something, or a 5. I mean, what if you get your third round? Like I just said earlier, what if you get your third round pick?
He's worth
like not your specific, but what if you get a third round pick back? Then no one can say shit about the Kenny Pickett deal. You now have a 1, 2, 3, and a 4. We have a 1, 2 2s, a 3, and a 4. I mean, come on.
He's worth 1 and 3, but I mean, I'll take it, I guess.
I think it's just kind of a part of the business thing, man. Actions speak louder than words.
For sure. Getting back to the list though, in terms of where we are. So we said the top 7 almost guaranteed offensive players. Now, we did a mock draft. I'll drop it in the comments below. Me and Diddy did a mock draft in terms of going back and forth and drafting. I had Bowers going to the Chargers. Now, I took Bowers because I thought he was the best. I didn't think he's the best player on the board. If Bowers doesn't go at 5 to the Chargers, which he very well might not be, and I haven't seen the odds yet for him to go to 5. Sharp. If they don't take Bowers, is it just Joe Alt? They're trying to trade the pick, and I think you can talk about that a little bit. But if the Chargers have to pick at 5, because I want to get into breaking down how we're looking at this draft so we can see where the Eagles can make these moves and these trade partners. But if there's no trade to be had, because it takes 2 to tango, like you said, you need a trading partner to do a trade. If the Chargers are dead at 5, who are the Chargers taking? Because to me, that's where the draft really starts. Because I don't believe all the smoke and mirrors with New England not taking May if he's there. Because that's where we're kind of looking at. So it's Williams, Daniels, and May in certain order in the top 3. We know Harrison is going to be the first non-quarterback off the board, more likely to the Cardinals. Then it gets interesting at the Chargers. Sharp, from what you know, what you think in predicting, where do the Chargers go and how does that affect the rest of the draft? Because if you don't
I feel like the Chargers are probably going to get stuck in picking.
I agree.
But a lot of it depends on what happens in front of them.
All right, so let's just say it's Williams. We'll get cute. It's Williams, Daniels, May, Marvin Harrison Jr., CSharp, your general manager of the Los Angeles Chargers. You've exhausted every option to trade back. You got to pick. What move do you make?
How do you not take Bowers there? Like, how do you not? He's the only generational talent on the board.
Joe Alt?
Generational talent?
Joe Alt and Rashawn Slater as your anchors? I mean, Harbaugh would be a happy camper, man.
But I'm saying,
this is a really hard one, man. Like the Chargers is like the hardest. Like this is the one team where when I look at the draft, I think the Chargers is the one team that has value betting. Because I don't think anyone really knows what to expect with them. If they get stuck in pick, it's up for grabs, right? Like, I mean, you got plus 1,000 on a tight end. That's pretty good value. Like if Bowers were to go there, like you'd make a lot of money predicting that. I could see them getting I could see him wanting tight end. The problem with Bowers in this draft that I find is he's stacked up against like really good players at more key positions. And that, like, I know that's not how Hardball thinks, but Hardball doesn't call the shots just by himself. Like there's going to be other people involved. And so if like there's Neighbors, Adunze, Alt, and Bowers on the board, I just have a really hard time imagining Bowers as that pick.
So,
and I do think it would be Joe Alt.
Okay. All right, so that's kind of what I was curious. Is I was wondering if they were going to delve into wide receiver there, if they're back.
Because I think at 37 in this draft, pick 37, which is their second round pick, you could probably get like an AD Mitchell.
Yeah. I mean, we talked about this, man. The wide receiver class is so deep this year.
You're going to be able to get a Lad McConkey or an AD Mitchell or a Malik Neighbors, or not Malik Neighbors, or a Keon Coleman.
Roman Wilson.
Yeah, you're going to be able to get Roman's a little early. He's not going 37. That's crazy.
Well, no, not at 37. Yeah, excuse me, not at 37. I didn't know you mentioned pick. I thought you meant throughout.
No, I'm saying for the Chargers at 37. Like if you like the reason you would go all or even Bowers, like if you're the Chargers and you're sitting there and you got 5 and you're like, okay, I could take Neighbors or a Dunze, but I could take Alt and or Bowers and then still end up with maybe an AD Mitchell at 37. That's why I think I really think it could be an Alt versus Bowers, and Bowers being 10-1. Like it's worth a sprinkle Bowers to the Chargers for sure.
So just
I like that you did that, Nate. Like that was a good pick. It's just hard to know that a tight end's going to go that early.
Well, I don't look at him. I look at him as like Kelsey a little bit. I know he's not Kelsey, but I look at him like Kelsey is the way I looked at him. He's just a playmaker because they have 0, right? They have no playmakers whatsoever on that offense, and he's going to need help. So that's why I don't like the lineman there, because it just doesn't make they need playmakers. So
But when you look at playmakers, let me say you're Harbaugh and you're wanting to pound the table and I'm the GM and we're going back and forth. I would spin it back to you on this. At 37, Nate, do we have a better chance of getting a good playmaker or a good offensive lineman if we were to take the other one early?
At 37?
Do you like the board at playmaker at 37 or the board at O lineman better? Which position do you think has more depth?
Yeah, I would probably be able to get a decent playmaker. I think you said Mitchell already. At 37, he might be there.
And that becomes the talk, right? If you're a team, that's really the conversation. It's not so much Bowers versus Neighbors or Bowers versus whoever. Bowers versus Adunze, Bowers versus Alt, Adunze versus Alt. It really comes to what do you think's available at pick 37? Because that's a premier pick. And there's like 15 good wide receivers. So to me, it's like, unless you're getting Marvin Harrison Jr., I don't understand any of these teams reaching for a wide receiver when you can literally get like I like Malik Neighbors, right? He's a really good football player, but he's not like astronomically better than his own teammate, Brian Thomas Jr. It's like the gap between Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson. So like, I'm okay getting Justin Jefferson. I'm not, you know what I mean? Like imagine getting a Justin Jefferson type player at 37. Why would I reach for a Chase at 5? Does that make sense?
And that's why I feel like Alt is a reach at 5, because he's not like unless I don't know enough about Joe Alt. I don't think I know he's head and shoulders the best lineman in the draft, but is he the bigger difference maker on this team versus Bowers? And I don't want to harp too much on the Chargers because we want to talk about how this affects the Eagles. But I think this is where the draft gets interesting.
I totally agree. I think the pivot points are 3 and 5.
So 3's there, 5's there. The Giants take whatever best player is available. I think the Titans, same as well. Defensive player goes off the board at the Falcons. I think Chicago stays there, and they do pick another. I think versus the pick there, or Turner, like we said. I think they take another. It'd be interesting to see if Adunze is there. I think that'd be a really dynamic offense. The way the game is changing, the way these teams are being built, even though the Chiefs won last year very differently, playing defense, running the ball, having a very smart, intelligent game manager, Hall of Fame coach, Hall of Fame DC. Chiefs are kind of like an outlier, but you already see how the Chiefs reamp their receiving core already, right? They have Rice. They picked up Hollywood Brown, and they have Kelsey, and obviously they could easily draft a receiver at the end of the draft. So that whole offense could look completely different coming next year. So the league is changing, and the Chiefs are, and Andy's one of the best of seeing that to come. So then you have the Jets, could get real fun. The Vikings is another pivotal part because I don't know, and you guys are saying JJ's going there. I just don't understand if you're from what I've learned from the draft, from listening to GMs, listening to owners, if your guy's there, you go get him. If that's who on your board, doesn't matter the number, doesn't matter what anybody else think. If that's your guy, go get him. I just have a hard time feeling that JJ McCarthy at 11 is there. Like, why wouldn't you take Mitchell? Considerably from consensus, the best corner in a position of need, the best corner on the draft when 23 is around, and JJ or Penix could fall to you at 23.
Brian Flores. Bill
That's all you
Belichick
got.
disciple. He can get it out the mud with DBs. So they've allocated a decent amount of assets to it through the draft over the years. I don't know. I just think they have bigger concerns than Quinyon Mitchell.
Okay.
I mean, they clearly liked someone in the draft. Like, you got to understand that the team didn't just like let Cousins walk and then start doing their due diligence on the quarterback class. So them internally clearly liked more than just one player, right? Or you would have offered Cousins the multi-year deal. So to me, I do think you make an interesting point. Like, if I were running the team, like, I personally think Penix is like, I like Penix, and I think Penix is a home run fit for Minnesota. So me personally, if I were running the team, yeah, I would do what you're suggesting. I would take best defensive player available and then come back and get, probably Penix will be there, honestly, because most people seem to have him as that last QB. McCarthy, it just seems like there's buzz around the league that, like, if you were to not take him at 11, and then all of a sudden the Broncos say they take their guy instead, and say they like Knicks, like, you're getting into dangerous territory that Vegas now all of a sudden is like, all right, well, we'll take our QB. Like, I just don't know if you could dodge Vegas, Seattle, maybe a Pittsburgh Steelers. Like, if McCarthy starts falling, then I think you bring into another cluster of teams that would be willing to go get him. And that's where I think Minnesota cannot roll that dice.
Yeah, and the way Minnesota positioned themselves, they moved up to 23, and I think I said it in the chat, very flexible, right? It's going to take at least three first-round picks to have the conversation of moving to 3 at New England. Because I think that's where they are. Because I think Chicago and Washington are where they are. They're not moving anywhere. I think they are where they are. New England more likely could move back. I think Sharp already said it, and we all know it. They just have so many holes to fill, and getting a quarterback that early could, I'm not going to say set them up for failure, but you're going to need a lot of help with that quarterback. You did buy the gap with Brissett, Jacoby, obviously been in New England, a pro's pro, but 3 would be the spot where you would go, and it's going to take you at least 3 first round picks to have a conversation. If you can't get the deal done, you're still sitting pretty, because 23 leaves you in a spot where a quarterback's going to fall to you, whether it be JJ or Penix. Getting back to the Eagles as we circle back around, who is the trade partner that they need to start having these conversations with? Like, where do they need to get to have? Is it top 10? Is it in front of Minnesota with the Jets? Because I feel like the Jets are all in this year, and there's no reason for them to move back, in my opinion. The Vikings aren't moving back. Denver maybe could move back, I guess, because nobody's taking Bo Nix outside of Denver, right? Like, if Denver doesn't take Bo Nix is going to be the second round pick. So is it Denver at 12 because they sorely need picks because of the Russell Wilson deal? Vegas move? I think I'm in the right area, but Sharp, talk to me. Where do you see Howie kind of making his move?
So the reason I've mentioned a few teams that don't have second round picks all in that clusters, because when one door opens, another door closes. When one door closes, another door opens in the draft. That's how this works. I do see a scenario like we've talked about where Minnesota, if May falls to 3, I think Minnesota's positioned themselves where if May falls to 3, that's their home run swing. I think that's their guy, like their guy, that they would come off 3 first-round picks. Otherwise, they probably hope JJ falls to them, which means they're not coming off that pick for us. In your scenario, like
they need more than 3 though, right?
Well, no, I don't. Not necessarily, because you're not necessarily
more than 3.
Nah,
No,
because you're not going to 1 or 2. You're only going to 3.
yeah, but they're well, I guess they're coming from 11. I guess.
Yeah.
I guess you're
3
right.
first rounds is a lot.
And it's I mean it's a lot for JJ though. Like, where's JJ in the mix?
No, they're not doing that for JJ. They're not trading the Minnesota. Who's coming up? I don't know who's coming up with this, but Minnesota's not trading for JJ.
Oh, you mean
Minnesota would only do that for Drake May. Jaden Daniels would have to go 2. New England would somehow have to not love May, and then Minnesota's May's guy. I know that for a fact. I mean, just their offense.
May
he just
has to somehow not love May. I'm not sure what they're doing, but I guess
that's just
so.
Exactly. So again, I don't think that happens. So I think there's a lot of scenarios which we've talked about where I think JJ is going to go ahead and fall to 11, and I think that's going to trigger Denver to have to take Knicks because that's their guy, and they can't risk letting Knicks fall. So then that triggers Knicks. So then that puts them out. So in the beginning, I was looking at those 2 teams, but now how I see the quarterback's going to go early, I think the clear team is the Jets. Like the Jets and the Eagles are going to trade. Like that's the trade partner. Joe Douglas knows the Eagles. I mean, it's going to be so easy for Howie Roseman to call Joe and be like, Joe, come on, bro. You just brought in a veteran wide receiver in Mike Williams. You signed a veteran tackle. Who are you reaching for at 10? As soon as Jared Verse comes off the board right in front of you, I mean, you're taking Quinyon Mitchell at 10? No, you're not. You're going to take offensive tackle number 3? No, you're not.
You're going to Jermaine Johnson this year? No, you're not.
You're going to take Roma Dunze, who's probably not even there? No, you're not. Like, you're not taking another playmaker when you already have Garrett Wilson. You're going to take Brock Bowers at 10? Maybe, but I think when Howie Roseman calls and says, "Bro, take our second round pick and you'll be able to get a playmaker and an offensive lineman instead of having to choose one," that's our move. So I am firmly anticipating the Eagles to be picking at number 10 in this draft. Like that's the perfect scenario. We start the cornerback run. They get to add a playmaker and an offensive lineman. Everyone wins. Like the drafts where work for everybody is when everyone walks away happy. The Jets and the Eagles trading is where everyone walks away happy.
What's the so far, obviously keeping it with the betting, what's the odds of the Eagles taking a cornerback? Is that out yet or no?
-165.
Telling.
Yeah. And what's crazy is that's the odds, and they haven't taken a first round corner since Lito Shepherd. And the odds are that high still.
22 years, boys. 22 years.
Right. Think of that. 22 years and the odds are saying -165. This isn't just me saying this, guys. Like,
Matt, the numbers.
I mean, Roseman set himself up to go take a corner. James Bradbury can easily be cut with a post June 1, and it's a minimal hit. Like, guys, like it's all setting up for the Eagles to go get Mitchell or Arnold. I'm not sure who their cornerback 1 is. I honestly don't know that. Mitchell has more movement traits and better ball skills, but Arnold has the character and the leadership skills that like the Eagles love. Like he would be the leader of the locker room.
As opposed to
so that's a hard one between those 2, but I think the Eagles would love to get to 10 so that they know they're getting one of them.
Yeah, and Ernie B, I'll switch to you before we start shutting
what
it
else
down.
I gotta say? I think exactly the same. I mean, they're gonna. If I was in Howie Roseman's shoes, I would do exactly what Sharp is saying. And the Jets, it doesn't matter. I will find a trade partner. I will move up. I will go get a outside corner, and I'm going into literally the rest of the draft with just like, okay, I'll go with who I like. I'm going to fill spots in need. I mean, they have supplemented the roster enough through free agency that they don't have to worry about this.
Yeah, really. I mean, that's really my question. Who's the better fit, Mitchell and Arnold?
Coin toss. I don't really care.
Man, yeah, I feel the same way. I'd be so happy regardless. I mean, Mitchell's the better athlete. Dude, Arnold is like it's hard to imagine. Like Terry Arnold's like a Brandon Graham. Like for 15 years, he'd be like the vocal leader of your team. Like that's
Terry
hard to
Arnold
replace.
and Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, part of the same defensive backfield, would be a fun thing to be NFL.
But Mitchell's more swaggy than Terry and Arnold. Arnold's more like a Malcolm Jenkins, like I lead, you follow kind of guy. Like I'm gonna walk us down, into a fiery hole. Like he's a guy you want in a foxhole. Mitchell's kind of a more of like a show me, like a true island corner. Look at me. He likes to be flashy. He's kind of that guy.
I kind of like Mitchell when you say that. Then.
Oh no.
Like Mitchell's got more swag than Arnold for sure.
Mitchell, and I'm a happy fan. If we get,
I was about to say, like I like that in my corner. That's just me, right?
He's
like,
you got to realize they're both dogs in their own sense. They're both dogs.
Because that's what I see Johnson. Like I don't see Gardner as like a locker room leader type guy.
He's not. No
but
way.
But yeah, exactly. But I see him as this. He's just the swag.
Lead by example on the field, man.
Yeah, exactly.
The second you run out of that tunnel, put on a mask. It doesn't matter what it is. The second you run out of that tunnel, flip the switch.
That's what's the word I'm looking for? That's contagious. Right.
They give juice. They bring juice to the team.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. That energy. Like BG's like that, right? He's a leader.
Exactly.
But he brings that energy. That's the way he talks. Non-stop talker.
Terry Arnold.
Yeah.
BG, Terry Arnold, and Chauncey Gardner-Johnson would be real fun for 1 year, man. That would be with Slay piping in, they're just talking about, his little funny antics, man. That'd be hilarious.
So before we get out of here, I'll ask you boys both the same question. And Diddy, I want you to give me one, and Ernie, I want you to give me one. We talked about so much, Howie, the draft, how this is going to play, bets, things like that. If it stays status quo, no trades, they can't make it work. Eagles are stuck at 22. Arnold's already gone. Mitchell's already gone. We already know those guys are not going to last more likely than 22. Sharp, who are the Eagles picking at 22? Who's the best fit right there?
It'd be a coin toss for me between two players, similar to the top two corners. For me, it'd be Kool-Aid McKinstry. I think he reminds me of James Bradbury. He doesn't have the long speed, but his technique and football IQ is top notch. And I don't care what anyone says. James Bradbury had an awesome career. He fell off fast, but he had an awesome career. And so Kool-Aid could do that. And then Cooper DeJean. I don't know where he would be. I think he'd be a jack of all trades in our offense or our defense. Sorry. He'd be like an offensive defender, if that makes sense. Like he's a playmaker. I don't know where you'd put him. So I don't love the fit as much as I would like Kool-Aid. So I think in that scenario, I'd go Kool-Aid 1A, Cooper DeJean 1B.
Yeah, I'm you know me, I've been a banner for Cooper because I like the flexibility. Right. You can put him in the corner nickel. You could put him back there with CJ, or you could vice versa. There's a more kind of athletic guy because I'm assuming CJ is more athletic than Cooper. I don't know because I haven't seen Cooper tested. I'm not
probably not. Sure. Cooper's a freak.
Yeah,
Cooper's a freak. Okay, I'm okay with that. I don't know because he didn't test at the draft. I think he was hurt for his pro day, so I don't know where he's at.
So this sounds crazy, but Cooper DeJean is like the defensive player of like a Christian McCaffrey. Like the dude is freaky twitched up for a white boy. Freaky twitched up.
Injuries are his only concern.
Injuries. Yeah, JC, but he's bigger than Seahorn. Seahorn was more of a true slender track guy. DeJean's freaking 215, 220 pounds. I mean, this dude's 6'2 plus 215. He's a big boy.
And the reason, and I'll get to you real quick, Ernie, the reason why I like Cooper, because I love the fact that when Malcolm was here, who did he play with? Who would I really feel that he played with that was kind of a decent?
Rodney McLeod?
Yeah, it was McLeod. But they could switch. It didn't matter. It wasn't free strong.
Yeah, they were good.
They were very like switchable and flexible like that. And I love that flexibility. It doesn't matter where they are. Somebody can come up in the box. Somebody can go back. We know CJ can come up as well. So that's what I like. Ernie, I'll go to you. And your answer might be very similar or the same to Sharp. Hopefully, I get you to say somebody
I'll-
different. Where you
All
going?
right, I'll take both players off my board. I'm gonna go Tyler Guyton, offensive tackle, Oklahoma, and then I'm gonna go with I got a fun one. And Sharp's gonna laugh at me. Is it Latu, just to be, yeah, that's going to be my second one. I think that due to the medicals,
I love that pick though. By the way, I'm a pass rusher. You know me.
I have a fun thing we can close out on, and this is something I saw earlier that was from a buddy of mine that didn't gain a lot of traction. But you're forced to pick at 22. You have Guyton, DeJean, and Latu all on the board. I believe the tackle might have been Amarius Mims. I'm sorry, but we're going to use Guyton for the drill. What would you guys take if you had to pick one of the three?
What was the three again?
Tyler Guyton, Cooper DeJean, and Latu.
Oh, Cooper all the way. Just because of the need in the secondary, we need talent.
What about you, Sharp?
I'd go. Man, that'd be a. Oh. Did we trade Reddick?
All right. Let's make it fun. You've traded Reddick.
You traded
Man,
Reddick?
I'll take Latu.
All right. That's just.
I'll take Latu. But that's so hard, guys. Like I don't know. As soon as I said Latu, I started feeling like. As soon as I said Latu, I started feeling like shit. So maybe it is Cooper DeJean. I don't know.
I'm just saying, man. I'm just saying.
I wouldn't. I know, but we can't go wrong. I mean, I guess the moral of the story is the Eagles have set themselves up so well. I'm not going to be mad if they stick and pick. I'm not going to be mad if they move up and start the cornerback run, and I'm not going to be mad if all things get shot to shit and they trade back and stockpile picks. Like I think the Eagles are in such a good spot right now. I mean, they only need a couple of good things. I think Quinyon Mitchell and Peyton Wilson like literally takes them over the top. That's just me personally. Those are my two favorite players for the Eagles. But we've named guys I love. I like all the players you guys like. Chop Robinson, you could throw him in there at 22.
He'd be really interesting.
There's a lot of guys I like.
At 22, I think because just that, he would, to me, Robinson would be what Nolan Smith should have been when we picked him.
Should have been. I'm done with this, Nate. I swear to God, we're gonna have to.
Yo, man, my defensive lineman radar is fucking amazing, and Nolan, I'm telling you. Nolan's 2 or 3 years. I hope he gets there, but as of right now, he's not what people think he is. He's not. He needs. Right.
I'm holding my tongue right now.
It's all good. We can swing it for next week. So everybody who's watching, I love how we get late night and more people join. So I appreciate you all joining. Hit the subscribe, hit the like, hit the notification button, drop a comment in here. We'll be here every Monday night. Talking birds, talking draft, talking bets. I don't know what the name of this show might be, but we'll figure it out. I think it was Eagles. Was it Eagles Eye? We had something before.
Bird's Eye View was the thought.
Bird's Eye View is OG. We got to ramp up that.
Bird's Eye View was it the next from Monday nights? Okay, so yeah, we'll
yeah, we can figure it out.
We can figure it out for CSharp. Oh no, CSharp. Ernie B. I'm Moss Money. This is Monday Nights. Bird's Eye View. Money Pot presents Bird's Eye View. We'll work on it. Thanks, everybody, for joining. We will see y'all next Monday. Talking more birds. We're out of here.
Happy Easter.